If you're watching this right now, don't blink, because what happened on that freezing November morning changed a lonely rancher's life forever. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why people still talk about the day a man with no family found himself holding two frightened little girls, and how their mother walked onto his ranch the next day and turned his entire world upside down. Before we begin, if you love emotional, true-to-life stories that touch the heart, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling the stories that matter. It began just before sunrise, when the sky hung low and heavy over the Montana plains, painted with bruised shades of purple and gray. The wind had teeth that morning, biting through coats and rattling the bare branches across the ranchland. Luke Warren had been awake since 4, because sleep rarely stayed long in a house where silence echoed louder than footsteps. 5 years had passed since his wife's sudden death, and though the world around him kept moving, seasons shifting, cattle growing, fences breaking and needing repair, his heart still felt stuck in a winter that never fully ended. Luke was mending a fence near the frozen creek, breath fogging in the icy air, when he heard it. A sound so faint he almost mistook it for the cry of a distant animal. He paused, hammer mid-swing. The wind howled again, and then he heard it a second time. High. Trembling. Human. He set down his tools and followed the sound, every step crunching on frost-hardened ground. When he reached the clump of brush near the creek bed, his breath caught. 2 little girls. Twins. No older than 4. Their small bodies curled together like fragile birds trying to survive the cold. One held a stuffed rabbit with a torn ear, the other squeezed her sister's hand so tightly her knuckles were white. Their jackets were thin, their lips trembling blue, their eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. And in that moment, something inside Luke shifted. He had seen storms. He had seen loss. But never 2 little children abandoned in winter's deadly grip. He crouched down slowly, keeping his voice gentle. Hey there, sweethearts. I'm not gonna hurt you. What happened? Where's your mom? The girls didn't answer. They just stared at him with identical brown eyes full of terror and trust tangled together. Without another word, Luke removed his coat, his only layer against the cold, and wrapped it around both of them. He lifted them carefully, shocked by how light they were, and hurried toward his truck. Their tiny fingers clung to him like their lives depended on it. Maybe they did. Inside the warm ranch house, he made soup, wrapped them in quilts, and sat by the fire until their shivering eased. Only then did the girls speak. Their names were Mia and Lily. They had been traveling with their mother when the car slid off the icy road. Their mother told them to stay put while she went for help. Hours passed. She never came back. Luke felt his stomach twist. He knew what a Montana storm could do to a grown adult, let alone a woman already in trouble. He called the sheriff immediately, reporting the abandoned children. But he didn't wait for deputies or rescue teams. Something in him, a buried instinct of a husband, a protector, ignited. He told the girls, I'm going to find your mama. I promise. Their tearful eyes locked onto him with a trust he didn't feel worthy of, but it gave him a purpose he hadn't felt in years. Luke saddled his horse and rode into the storm. The wind slapped his face, the snow stung his eyes, and every hoofstep felt heavier than the last. Memories he buried long ago clawed their way back, the night he lost his wife, the helplessness, the cold, the silence afterward. Not again. Not if he could stop it. Hours passed. The storm thickened. He searched every trail, every ditch, every broken tree limb blown down by the wind. Just when hopelessness threatened to creep in, he saw something dark near a fallen pine. A woman. He leapt off his horse and ran. She was barely conscious, lips blue, breath shallow. Her hands were numb, her clothes soaked with melted snow. Luke wrapped her in his coat and whispered, "You hold on now. Your girls are waiting." Her eyes fluttered open for a second, enough to whisper something he couldn't hear. He carried her to the horse, held her upright as they rode back through the punishing wind. At the hospital, doctors rushed her inside. Luke stood trembling in the hallway, snow melting down his back, praying she would survive even though he didn't know her name. When he returned home, the twins ran to him, clinging to his legs as if he were the only safe place in the world. They didn't ask if he found her. They didn't need to. They felt his answer in the way he hugged them tightly. He laid them to sleep on the couch under a handmade quilt, one his late wife had sewn during happier times. Watching the girls breathe softly, their tiny chests rising and falling, Luke felt something shift deep inside. The silence that haunted his ranch didn't feel as sharp anymore. The next morning, soft sunlight crawled across the frostlit fields. The girls were eating pancakes, Mia carefully, Lily messily, when a truck pulled up the driveway. Luke stepped outside, and froze. A nurse helped a woman down from the passenger seat. Pale. Weakened. But alive. The twins shrieked, "Mama," and sprinted toward her. The woman dropped to her knees despite the pain and held her daughters so tightly it looked like she might never let go. Luke stood on the porch, heart pounding, watching the family reunite. When the woman finally looked up, tears streaking her face, she whispered, "You saved them. And you saved me. How do I ever repay you?" Luke shook his head. "You don't owe me a thing." But a quiet ache in his chest wished, not for repayment, but for time. Just, more time with them. Fate heard him. The sheriff explained that Elena, yes, she finally had a name, needed a few days of recovery. The nearest shelter was full. Her car totaled. No relatives nearby. She had nowhere to go. When the sheriff suggested she stay at Luke's ranch temporarily, Luke tried not to look too relieved. He simply nodded. She and the girls are welcome here. From the moment Elena stepped inside, something changed. She was gentle despite her exhaustion. Strong despite her injuries. The twins followed Luke around the ranch like shadowy giggling ducklings. They fed horses with him. Helped with warm mash for the cattle. Tried on his oversized cowboy hat, laughing as it fell over their eyes. Elena watched him with a softness he hadn't seen directed at him for many years. Luke found himself laughing too. Real laughter, warm, contagious, alive. One night, as the fire crackled and the girls slept in the guest room, Elena told him the truth. She had been fleeing an abusive partner. She had planned to start over far away, where he couldn't find them. The storm had trapped her. The ditch. The cold. And then, Luke. "I prayed someone would find my girls before the storm took them," she whispered, eyes glistening. "I didn't expect an angel to show up." Luke looked away, uncomfortable with the word. He wasn't anyone's angel. He was a broken man who just refused to let tragedy win again. "You're safe now," he told her. "You're not alone anymore." She held his gaze, and for the first time in years, Luke felt seen. Days passed. Then a week. The ranch slowly transformed from a quiet monument of grief into a warm, living home filled with noise and color. Elena cooked with him. The girls drew pictures of horses and sunrises. Luke would pause in doorways sometimes, watching them, feeling something he thought he'd buried with his past life, a desire to belong. When Elena healed enough to move, she told Luke she'd found an apartment arranged by a shelter. She hesitated as she handed him the address. "We're leaving this afternoon." The word sliced through him, but he kept his smile steady. "I'm glad you found a place. You deserve peace." Elena looked down at her hands. "The girls cried all night. They don't want to go." "They'll adjust," Luke replied, voice cracking slightly. She took a breath. "Luke, do you want us to stay?" He froze. Her eyes shimmered with vulnerability, fear, and hope all at once. Luke felt the world pause. "I don't want to scare you," he said quietly.